Hello, everybody. My name is Lori Beulah, and I'm your local realtor from Real Living Volpini Realty Group. And I don't know if you've noticed, but over the past several weeks, I have been doing a series for potential home buyers. I've been walking you through the process. And so I started with the lender on how you can get pre-approved. And then I had a home inspector to talk about what happens at the home inspection. And today we have another very important part of the home buying process, which is getting homeowners insurance. So I have my friend here, Andrew Slater from Liberty Mutual. He's a licensed insurance agent, and he has agreed to help us walk through the process. And I actually learned a couple of things. Before I became a realtor, I kind of did things a little bit backwards. So I learned that yesterday that, there's a better way to do it. So I'm glad that we have you, because I do have a lot of questions from buyers about how that works and what to do first and all of that. So I'm just going to spell all that out to them in this little webinar here. So yeah. Andrew, yeah. Just spell out that. First, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with Liberty Mutual, and then just walk us through like a typical homeowner insurance process.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, as Lori said, Andrew Slater with Liberty Mutual here. I've been with the company for 5 years, and been helping people with homeowners insurance, auto insurance, and one of the new things that I'm doing now is life insurance and annuities. So that's kind of a new realm there too. But homeowners for the last 5 years now. But what the typical process looks like is, what I like to do is I like to have the customer reach out as early in the process as possible. So where we're looking at is right around the time where they've got an offer accepted. And if we can have it done, have them reach out for a quote before their credit gets hit by the lender, the better. And here's the reason why, is because with your credit plays a role in a lot of industries these days. If you pay attention to any financial advisors, they'll tell you watch your credit. If you listen to Brother Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University, he's going to tell you got to watch your credit, make sure you take care of that. And credit plays a role in the insurance industry as well. And so the earlier we can start the quote, the better, because then we can have your credit in the best rating bucket possible. And that'll help you get the best deal in the end. And typically in the home buying process, there is 2 times where your credit's going to get hit. If we can get it before they hit it the first time, the better. But at least before it gets hit the end, at closing time there. And then what I like to do with the customer is a consultative process in quoting. And what that looks like is when the customer has their offer accepted on the home and they call and I'm dealing with them, we like to go over step by step what's inside the home, what they have going on. Do they have granite or marble in the kitchen? What type of flooring do they have? Do they have
that makes a difference. Yeah. So that makes a difference in the quote they get, is what they have inside. Okay. All right.
Absolutely. Because the big thing is this, your home, and I know we were talking, home insurance is mandated. You want to cover your home. You need to cover your home.
Yes.
But it's the biggest investment for most people in their life. Some people, they have other investments that are bigger, but it's going to be one of the hugest investments. And for most of us, it's the biggest one. So you want to make sure that you get it right. So
you're right.
You don't want to skimp on coverage. If your home should be insured up to $200,000, you don't want to insure it up to $140,000, because that's going to make a huge difference in what you get back if you have a loss, and what your new home looks like. You've lost a ton of value if you're not insured properly.
I see.
So that's the big why kind of behind these things.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
So yeah, I mean, as far as the consultative process, when we're doing a quote, we're going to be looking obviously at the square footage. We're obviously going to be, looking at, who the owners are. Is it a spouse, a husband and wife? Is it just one person? Looking at their information. But when it comes down to the build of the home, yeah, things like we were talking about, like the wall, is it solid wood paneling? Is it, which my wife wants us to go to Lowe's and paint. We're going to paint this beautiful wall behind us here. We got to update, HGTV, they show us what to do.
Right.
But yeah, those things, the flooring, is there granite or marble in the kitchen? That's a major thing. Granite or marble in the bathroom? Is there a jacuzzi tub? Do you have customizations in the home? All these things, some people can miss, and they just think square footage, and they just think, let's just run a general estimate. But you want to have these things covered, and we want to get it down to a good solid number when we do our what's called replacement cost estimate, and that's when we're calculating the value of the home. Now, one thing too that we'll do as well, I like to look at Zillow. I like to look at Realtor.com, especially in this day and age. As a general practice, I like to do that when I'm doing a quote, just to do that virtual walkthrough with the customer. But right now, not as often going to be getting out to a house. There are precautions, so we'll try and do that a little bit more. But it's just great to have stuff like that to do a virtual walkthrough, and because the customer sometimes misses things. They'll sometimes,
for sure. Oh yeah.
They're super excited. I just had an offer accepted on my dream home.
Right.
And then, they forget, what they have here or there. And then I can say, oh yeah, so you got, beautiful flooring here, throughout your bathroom. We want to make sure we have that covered. But the other big thing to touch on when we're talking about insured value and replacement cost estimate is that's a lot different than your market value. So your market value on your home could be, say, $80,000, $100,000 is maybe what you're paying for a house. But for most homes around here in our area, Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, your replacement cost estimate is going to be higher than that, because we're looking at the cost to rebuild, today's rates for construction, and today's rates for building materials. So in a lot of ways, I tell customers, sometimes you're going to end up, if you have a loss, nobody wants to have a loss. You don't want to go a year without, your home and waiting for it to be rebuilt. But you're going to have new building materials. We're looking at that. We're not going to go out and find, 20-year-old paneling, 30-year-old paneling to put in your house,
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And so the other thing that I noticed that happens when I have clients who are getting their homeowners insurance is we don't know maybe the age of the roof. Like we've had the roof inspected, and the home inspector will say your roof's in good shape. But sometimes you want to know the actual age of the roof, and the age of the furnace, and the age of the AC, and all of that. Even if everything is functioning properly, as the home inspection will show that. But a lot of times you want to know the actual age of things. Absolutely. So that's something that I will have all my clients do and I'll get that information and make sure that they have it. So that speeds up the process a little bit. So that's the information you need.
And that's a huge value, Lori, because most insurers, and I write with Liberty, I write with multiple carriers. I have 16 different carriers that I write with just to get the best deal for people. But every insurance carrier is going to give some sort of credit, or they may even call it a discount if you have a newer roof. And then also if you have updated systems, with Liberty, there's a huge credit if you have updated HVAC system, if you have updated electrical system and plumbing, and also if you have an updated roof as well, as we're talking about. It's a really great thing. So if you're out, it's great value if you're buying a home that is newer or that has an updated system. That's great value, but it is going to get you a better price on your insurance, just because it's a lot better risk. It's a lot less risky with something going wrong.
Absolutely. So what about, are there certain homes that are more difficult to get homeowners insurance, or are there types of homes that are going to be more expensive to get homeowners insurance? Just so I could advise my clients, like, you may have a little bit of a higher insurance premium because of what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there are some homes. So for the more expensive kind of question,
Yeah.
Your historic homes are going to be pricier. Older homes that have plaster walls, they're going to be pricier too. The homes with the fancy woodwork in them, like I'm thinking of downtown Newcastle, the historic district up on the North Hill there, Poland, Ohio. Some of those homes there, when you're driving through, the ones that have the little the little cutout of the state of Ohio, you're like, yeah, that's a special place here.
Right.
And some of these places, they have to be kept the same. There can be guidelines where if something happens, if there's a loss, the town may want it replaced in the same fashion. And so from an insurance perspective, a home with plaster walls, a home with woodworking that is very elaborate, like they did in the early 1900s, that's going to be more expensive to insure because the replacement cost value is going to be higher. Right. So the price of insurance is going to be a little higher with that too. But some of those customers have options. I know there are some areas where I have a friend in Poland, Ohio. He has a home. It's a historic home, so he has to watch what updates he makes to his house.
Okay.
So there can be some things like that where you want to have your home insured absolutely at that replacement cost, where your insurance company is going to find somebody to come out and do the plaster work, and they're going to do the work like they did in the old days.
Right.
But if you don't have something like that, we have options called functional replacement cost, where we would insure an older home, but if there's a loss, we're going to rebuild that home with new materials. So we're not going to go out and find a plaster guy, and it's going to be cheaper, which means that replacement cost value is going to be lower. With the functional replacement cost, say you have a friend has an older farmhouse, plaster walls. If we insure it to replace the plaster walls, it's up over $300,000. But with functional replacement cost, he's down at $180,000. So it's a lot more manageable, and it's what he would want. So it's nice to have those options. The other thing from a homes that are harder to insure, a lot of insurers don't do insurance on manufactured homes, on mobile homes. But we have options for that, and there are companies out there that rates are very competitive with certain carriers, so we can check for people. But that's a thing to keep in mind. It's going to be a lot easier finding homeowners insurance. If you call your auto insurer and you're buying a mobile home, chances are they may tell you no, that they don't offer it, and they'll refer you somewhere else. But,
so that's why it's good to start on the front end.
Yes.
So that we're not scrambling. A couple days.
Like oh God, I thought that XYZ insurance company that I've had my car insurance with for years would insure this, my mobile home that I'm buying. And
no.
Okay.
Now here in this, I get varying circumstances with this, but I'm going to ask you so you can say it to my buyers. But when they're purchasing homeowners insurance, do they pay it out of pocket to you or to your agency before they close, or does it come out at closing, or is it spread out over the year to the lender and it's included with their mortgage? And I don't know. I think I don't know if it depends on the lender or the home insurer or how that works, but it's different. I noticed with every transaction.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It can be different. I'd say probably, and I'll ask some of the customers I have kind of what their situation is, and educate, but probably 8 to 9 times out of 10, we don't have to take anything from the customer if they're escrowing. Because if they're escrowing, we know that their lender is going to be good for getting the money to us, and we give the lender a month, sometimes a month and a half to get the check to us, to pay. And what that looks like is the lender will send us a check for the whole year,
Okay.
That's coming out of the customer's escrow. So they'll see their escrow account, debited. But then the way that the customer is going to pay back their lender is they're going to pay back their lender with their regular monthly payment. So as they're making payments on their loan, your lender has that money set aside for homeowners insurance. Say it's $600, and so you're going to be making your payments throughout the year, just dividing that up by 12.
And that's $600 per year, correct?
Yeah. So just throwing out there as an example.
Yeah, because some
there are people
think that homeowners insurance is like super expensive, but it really isn't, depending on the type of house that you get. So yeah, I just want to make sure it's $600 a year, because novice home buyers think that, they need a whole lot of money to insure their homes, but it really is very inexpensive.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've been really very competitive. Eastern Ohio, Western PA, there's really, like, if I look across the country, I feel really blessed. Like as far as areas that I would want to write insurance in, this is a great area here. And, having the options to check with other carriers too, we have the ability to find, the best deal, the best package for a customer, which is really, really awesome, and really a blessing too, because, I love that, to do right by the customer, find what works best for them amongst multiple options. So, they get the best deal, and they can save money.
Right. And that's really the bottom line when buyers are buying. And that's pretty much what we did. I guess that's how we ended up with you guys, because we were just like, the best quote wins.
Right on. Yeah.
But also in that, though, I'm glad that you talked about that, because there's other things like to make sure you're insured right.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's the number one thing, if again, like we talked at the beginning, this is the biggest investment you're going to have in your life, most likely, so you don't want to skimp on things, and you want to make sure that you're protected properly. Right.
Absolutely. And there was another question I was going to ask you. Does it matter? Let's just say there's an area, it's not necessarily a flood zone. Let's just say the home in the disclosures may have had water in the basement. Do you ask those kind of questions? And whatever the issue was has been repaired. Does that matter to you? Do you ask those kind of questions? Like, has the basement ever been wet, or, is that an issue for you?
No, but here's the thing that we will see. We'll be able to see at the address if there has been any claims in the past.
Oh,
and
good.
So,
okay.
And so that's something that that can actually help the home buyer in multiple ways. One, there's a coverage that we offer called water backup. A lot of carriers offer a coverage. They either call it the same thing, or water impact, water backflow coverage, they may call it. But what that is if water would back up into the home, dealing with like a sump pump failure, dealing with a sewage backflow, and go into the basement and cause damage. And that's something that we can see on certain homes. And if I see it on the risk analysis, when we look back 5 years at the address and see if anything's happened. If I see it on there, I'm definitely going to recommend to the customer. And then that may be a conversation that they have with the sellers. They're saying, hey, you know what? We noticed that, that there was something that happened here 4 years ago.
Right.
What can we do about that? Or has anything been done? And that can really help them. But we don't look at that as a slight on the buyer. So if the buyer's buying a home and it had a water backup claim, it's not going to impact them, but it is some good information, because one, I'll suggest, hey, you should add this coverage on because it's optional.
Right.
And it can help them. But to flood, we can do a flood zone determination. We'll be able to see what FEMA is putting them in, if they're in a flood zone, if they're not in a flood zone.
Okay.
But then we have options with flood as well. We write with 2 private flood insurers, and then we also write with the National Flood Insurance Program. Kind of depending on the customer's loan, can kind of guide them which way they should go. Now, private flood insurers are cheaper. Their rates are a lot better than the National Flood Insurance Program. So if the customers can do that, we'll definitely want to steer them that way. And it'll save them money. And then they also provide extra coverage. National Flood Insurance Program only goes up to $250,000 of coverage for your home. So if you have a $1 million home and you have National Flood Insurance Program, they're only going to give you back a quarter of that.
Okay. I
so
see.
where the private insurers, they go beyond that limit, which is good. But yeah, that's a conversation. Anybody that's looking in an area that may be in a flood zone, or you're just concerned about that sort of risk, it's a great conversation to have. And there's some real cost saving ways to go about insuring your home from flood insurance standpoint. But yeah, flood insurance is not on your homeowners. So homeowners has two big exclusions.
Okay.
Flood insurance, or flood, and also earth movement. But in our neck of the woods in Pennsylvania and Ohio, we can add earth movement coverage on to the homeowner's policy as an endorsement. But flood insurance is always a separate policy. So if you want to do that, it's a separate thing there. But just a little FYI, not to go down a rabbit hole.
No, that's good information. So now what happens, this is another question, and actually happened to a friend of ours. What happens if there's a water line break that then causes water back up into a person's home? Does that come under homeowners insurance policy, or depends on how you're insured?
Yeah, well, it's always so any claim situation, it's always going to be referred. There's a claims adjuster. They're going to look at what the cause was. Where the break happened. Now we have some carriers that have water line coverage, where the lines literally going from your house to the street are covered and protected under the policy. So it's a nice benefit to have. But another way to insure your lines going to the street is you could go with your utilities company. That way you don't have to file a claim against your homeowner's policy if something happens. But there's two ways of going about it. Both have their benefits. But if you have like a water break in your home, a pipe bursts, that's going to be most often just handled by your homeowner's policy. But it's always going to be at the determination of an adjuster, because I hate to say, for a video going public here.
Right.
Water claim,
Right. Yeah, you're right.
yeah. If the creek behind your house overflows, floods your neighborhood, but then you call your insurer and say, hey, it was a pipe that bursts, I think,
Right. So I get you.
Not that our friends or any of our clients would do that. We know.
Not at all. Right. That's good information to have, though. Thank you.
Yes.
So we talked about payment. I can't think of anything else. I jot down, most of the questions that I asked were mostly, they came from my clients.
Yes.
But the biggest thing to remember for buyers is to get their insurance carrier, homeowners insurance person involved as soon as possible.
Yes.
So that they get the better benefit of the higher credit.
Yep.
And also, I'm assuming, but I'll let you tell me, if a person decides to bundle their homeowners, auto, and life, they would probably get a discount on all of those, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, having the multi-policy discount in the insurance industry is the biggest discount that you can get. And so bundling is always best. Life insurance discounts are not as high, but very important from a life insurance standpoint. You're taking out a $300,000 loan for a home, and you and your wife both have income. If one of you guys is out of the picture, what's that going to look like down the road? So that's a thing you want to consider there if you don't have enough life insurance to cover a home loan. But auto insurance, big discount. So gotta really emphasize that there. But so in some cases, you get a better deal with different carriers. Just always about looking at what's the best package for you. Sometimes people rate better with different carriers. They have one for auto, one for home, but home and auto together as a bundle gives a great discount.
Really good discount, yes. That is true. Yep.
The only other thing I'm thinking about touching on, Lori, is with the lenders. So I like to deal one-on-one with the lenders, get their information so that if anything changes or anything comes up, I can make that update really quick and get things over to them. Because if you've bought a home, or if, being in the industry for all these years, if there's one letter off on the mortgagee clause,
You're
they're
right.
going to say, whoa, 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 whoa. We
Yep.
can't close.
Yep.
We gotta wait till we get this fixed. And
Yep.
you don't want your closing held up for something small like that.
Yes.
Or they want to see their name on there, right? They want to see the effective date. And their big thing is, just as we talked about replacement cost, they want to see that the home is insured at replacement cost up to the right value, because it's their investment too. You know, while you have that loan with them, they have an interest in the home, and so do you. And if they don't see that stuff, then they're gonna say hold things up. And it's one piece of paper, but it makes a huge difference. And that's where it's important to be in the loop there with them.
It is. And, that is a very important, because sometimes the insurance person will call the buyer and ask for some information, and the buyer is like, I have no idea what that is. So that's something that the agent, insurance person, lender can work on behind the scenes.
Yes.
And then I could update my client and say, this was what was needed. I talked to your insurance person. We got it covered.
Yes, absolutely. It's one thing off their plate because they have enough,
Right, that's right.
going on.
Yes, they're going crazy. They're getting their funds together. They're getting last minute paperwork in. They're going nuts. So one less thing for them to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, this is great. I can't think of anything else. But what I'm going to do is, and I've been talking about it on social media a lot, but I'm going to put together a home buying series and upload it to my YouTube channel. And I'll just encourage buyers, because we have entered into the home buying season. We do have buyers out there in spite of everything that's going on. And the buyers that are out there are very serious. Any buyer who's looking at purchasing a home during a pandemic, they're not playing around. They're serious.
That's right.
So I'm gonna put together this series for them so that they can watch it and have a lot of their questions answered, so that by the time I connect with them, they'll have a little bit of an education, especially if they're a first-time home buyer. And I think that'll be very beneficial. So thank you for doing that, because that's a really important part of purchasing a home. And yet a lot of buyers, they go through those steps, but they really don't even fully understand what they did. They just know it's mandated that I have to have homeowners insurance.
Absolutely. It's like, dang it. But there's so much value there, and it's when you understand it. And that's the beautiful thing, somebody like yourself educating people, just a great realtor that's educating people and doing something like this. This is just amazing. And kudos, Lori. Looking forward to that, and just a pleasure to help out and offer some expertise here too.
I'm glad. Same here. I really appreciate your time. And so we will be talking soon, hopefully writing up some policies.
That's it. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely, Andrew. Lori. Yeah. Have a great one.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.